We now know when The Walking Dead will end. We know what's going to happen once it has ended. But we don't know how The Walking Dead all ends. Let's figure it out in today's video. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe so you're the first to hear about The Walking Dead and the first to see my videos. And make sure you join my official Discord, link is in the description and in the pinned comment. I'll see you there. Of course, on the 9th of September, it was revealed that The Walking Dead would end with its extended 11th season. But along with this announcement, we got a load of other announcements and plans for The Walking Dead universe by AMC. At the end of AMC's press release, they also said this: the series has also given life to a vibrant and expanding content universe that currently includes Talking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead returning for its 5th season on October 11th. The Walking Dead World Beyond, a new series about the first generation raised in the apocalypse, debuting on October 4th. A feature film being produced by Universal and Skybound alongside AMC, focused on the Rick Grimes character. A new spin-off planned for 2023 focused on the popular Daryl and Carol characters, and the new Tales of the Walking Dead episodic anthology series. Now it's clear AMC has a lot of ambition for the Walking Dead universe now. It's got a lot planned for after the main show ends. When the main show does end in 2022, a lot more will happen after that. It's a universe now. The Walking Dead isn't just the main show. Tales of the Walking Dead will likely show us older characters, prequels showing characters like the Governor. We now know what Scott Gimple said about seeing dead characters in the future. But the most interesting thing about this press release is what they say about the Rick Grimes movies. They say a feature film. We were first told when Rick Grimes left the main show that it would be a trilogy, but here it just says a feature film. We thought this would happen. We had rumours saying it would just be one now, but this does look to confirm that it is just a single film. However, what you might have realised from when I was reading the press release is it also says Fear the Walking Dead is returning for its 5th season on October the 11th. It's not, it's returning for its 6th season. So that typo or mistake could give us hope as to why they only said a feature film when we were at first told it was a trilogy. But just think about what those 3 movies would have been about. Maybe the first one was Rick Grimes waking up, recovering from his injury and finding out more about the CRM. The second one could have been about Daryl and Carol catching up with Michonne to go and find Rick and try to bring him home. The third and final movie could have been about bringing him home and finishing The Walking Dead as a whole, with Rick Grimes in it. So with that in mind, that Daryl and Carol could have been in that second movie to go and find Rick, it could make sense as to why there's now a spin-off announced, a series of Daryl and Carol going out on their own to go and find Rick. But I don't actually think that's the case. I think the whole Rick Grimes story is a story that needs to end The Walking Dead. And I think Daryl and Carol's spin-off is something more than that. It's their own thing. I don't see it as the epilogue of The Walking Dead's main show. Like I said, they've both spoken about this. It's their own story. And when Daryl mentioned New Mexico, I just knew that was it.
Screw the boat. We'll take your bike and go out on the road.
Better.
Head out west.
New Mexico.
What the hell's New Mexico?
Don't be silly. There is evidence to suggest Breaking Bad is in the same universe as The Walking Dead. But I think it's more for fun and they're just Easter eggs. They're interesting, but I don't think they're to be taken too seriously. A case can definitely be made for that, but the reason there are probably said New Mexico is because it's a completely different state to where they're in now, Georgia. New Mexico is also bordering Texas and Mexico, so yeah, there's a lot different to what The Walking Dead has already done. Fear the Walking Dead is also set in Texas right now, and they've been to Mexico. So Daryl could just go and lead that as at the end of the spin-off too. It's also Daryl saying New Mexico that tells me he just doesn't go to find Rick because he's already been found by the time they have this spin-off. And we figured out a long time ago that Rick is in Philadelphia, that's where their CRM is. The other communities are set in New York and Nebraska. New Mexico is a long way away from that. And I've seen a lot of people who are outraged that Carol and Daryl were the special characters picked to have their own spin-off, Well, it's important to see it as they've already ended the show by the time that happens. They didn't want to have the spin-off and then end the show. They've likely ended the show and had the idea of saving Carol and Daryl, because the way they end in the show is walking out of Alexandria and having their own thing. And I know what you're thinking, if it's the final season, surely it's going to be a bloodbath in these last 22 episodes. Well, not exactly. In fact, quite the opposite. If it's ending now, it's really extremely likely to get the comic ending that we saw, where they all lived happily, all the walkers had died down. 25 years had passed, all the characters had grown older, and they had rebuilt their own civilization. I think that's how the show will eventually end too, so you don't really have to worry about all of the characters dying. However, this ending happened at the cost of one thing. In issue 192, Rick Grimes was shot dead. It was a vulnerable death, it was a pretty bad one, and it's clear that because of this death they treated him as the hero because of all he had fought for. He was the core of the story of The Walking Dead. It ends with Carl Grimes reading his daughter the story of The Walking Dead. It will likely be Judith in the show. We've seen she has already started writing her book in season 10. In fact, when they announced this, they released a trailer, a teaser trailer for the final season. Transitions from each scene is burning pages. It even ends with a burning page. And yes, that is our secret first look at a Commonwealth Guard. This is what the soldiers will look like in the show, and I think it looks really good. But yeah, with a burning page being the last thing we see in this trailer and throughout the trailer, I do think that means a very similar end to the comic. The only deaths you'd have to worry about are the two major ones, Dwight's death and Rick's death. I've made a few videos on Dwight's death now, and it could actually be any rebellious character that you've seen. It could be Alden, he's an ex-savior just like Dwight. We've heard rumours of a Fear crossover. It could be Dwight himself. It could be Rosita. If he doesn't die in the finale, or if Gabriel doesn't die in the finale, one of them could get it because we've seen them talking about it. It has been foreshadowed that one of them die. It couldn't be Daryl or Carol now because we know they're going to have their spin-off after. It's likely someone will get this death, and then we have Rick's one. Now, Dwight's one could just not happen. It's not that major. But Rick's death does have to happen. Late last year, the writers actually said they would be adapting it into the show. The Walking Dead will end in late 2022. If the Rick Grimes movie comes out before The Walking Dead ends, I think that means he will return to the main show and he will be the one to finish it. If it comes out after, he won't return to the main show, but he will finish it in his movie. It will be the epilogue to The Walking Dead. And I think if it comes out after, Rick will have his happy ending. He'll live happily with Michonne, Judith and RJ. However, if the movie does come out before The Walking Dead ends, if Rick does return to the main show after, I do think Rick will have his comic death. The show is more about the universe now. When it ends, the universe will still go on. But what's very important to understand is, although Robert Kirkman's story in the comics was Rick Grimes' story, we were told the show had gone because it's about the universe, but it's ending now. So it's still remaining Rick Grimes' story because it's ending at the exact same point. One of the comics ended straight after because Robert Kirkman had all these stories to tell in The Walking Dead. But he ended the comics because it was Rick's story, and once he died, it ended and Carl was telling it as Rick Grimes' story. As the one who fought for it all. The only other character that could get this other than Rick is Daryl because he was there for it all too. But we know he goes off to have his own spin-off after. So it's not Daryl. And if Rick doesn't come back in the show to have it, then it won't be him either. If it's not Rick or Daryl, I think it's going to be Negan. It'll be switched up. Because if Negan isn't sent away like he's in the comics, he's going to be right there where Rick would be. If he's not sent away, I don't think Maggie's going to be happy with that. She continuously backs away from killing him in the comics. What would Maggie do with Negan in her face constantly? If he's not sent away, if he's not killed, I think he'll eventually get this death. And remember, if Sebastian isn't in the show, the one that kills Rick, then what other reason would a young boy have for doing it, for killing someone? It would be Herschel Jr., Maggie's son, Glenn's son. Negan has gotten away with a lot, however much he redeems himself. If he's not sent away, then he's headed for something a lot worse. Of course, a lot is going to happen from now to when The Walking Dead actually ends in 2 years. There's the CRM. They're going to play a massive part in this. It will be involved massively in the end of Rick Grimes' story. It's likely that does pan into The Walking Dead's main story. That's something that I need to mention when talking about that end of The Walking Dead, because it's clear that's going to have something to do with that. That's why I'm so excited for The Walking Dead World Beyond that. It's going to show us more of the CRM, where Rick Grimes ends up in Philadelphia. Then we've got the kids in Nebraska traveling to New York, and they will likely pass through Philadelphia. Now, that's a very general statement as well, because they're not going to go straight through Philadelphia, but the CRM are likely going to be covering all over that area. Now, the kids are trying to sneak away from them because they snuck out of their own community, so the CRM will appear because the show is the CRM. It's not just something you should see now as the Rick Grimes movies thing. It's going to be something that ends the show. World Beyond is much more important than we originally thought. I've got a video coming out for that soon. But sure, a lot's going to happen from now to when it ends, but the very end, I think, is going to be almost exactly like the comics. So how do I think The Walking Dead is going to end? Depending on the order of the Rick Grimes movie and how that ends, I think Rick Grimes will live happily with his family at Alexandria. He'll have all of his communities. He achieved his goal to find his family and say goodbye to Daryl and Carol as they go off to have their spin-off, because their original ending was to just go their separate ways together. I think it will likely end with Judith telling the story of The Walking Dead, with Rick Grimes very much being the hero in that, which is why, if the movie does come out before and he does go back into the main show, I think it's likely he does die. It could be that The Walking Dead ends and it gets people watching that one movie, because now it's one feature film, it's made things so much more interesting. Would they really just end the TV show in a movie or carry it on? Even though he's been gone for the whole of Season 10 and most of Season 9, he's missed the whole Whisperer story arc, he's still the main character. I think he has to end it. And remember, in Michonne's final episode, we found out so much that Rick had already done. The phone with sketches on it. Rick's boots are already there. The movie has to show us these things. So in one movie, can you show us all of this and how Rick's story ends? I think it's really likely that Rick Grimes joins the show again for the last 11 episodes of the season. That would be the second half of season 11. And the movie would get people to watch the last 11 episodes. They would watch how The Walking Dead ends. But what do you think? Make sure you comment down below and let me know. A lot needs to happen, and I think World Beyond is going to show us a lot more, because I don't see the CRM and the Commonwealth both existing in the same universe without conflict or knowing each other, especially if they've got Rick. I think it's so much based around the Rick movie. I think if Rick's still out there and they have this spin-off, then 100% the spin-off is about them finding Rick. But if not, I think they're just going to have their own show, and that's what I'd rather have. Press the like button if you enjoyed this video. It will help me out and will get this video seen by more people. If you did enjoy it, then check out these ones. Watch this one where I go more in depth about the Daryl and Carol spin-off. What's it about? When can we expect to see it? And how does it really tie into the end of The Walking Dead? And watch this to see a full breakdown of the latest trailer for The Walking Dead Season 10 finale. Magna looks like she's in trouble. I hope she dies. Make sure you subscribe so that you're the first to see my videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.